when you're younger, everybody tries to be this weird amalgamation of like, I'm beyond race, you know? I'm
Beyond race now at Burger King.
I'm me. And the Beyond
It's my
Race
favorite
burger.
combo meal, the Beyond Race
The
burger.
Beyond Race burger.
Hello and welcome to Cleopatra. I'm Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly, and this is a podcast about two Middle Eastern comedy queens digging up the funny from the first generation experience.
Our guest today is kind of one of my favorite comedians in the entire LA scene. I'm always blown away by him. It's Milan Patel, everybody. Yay!
Woo!
As you know, this is a podcast about first generation people. We like to ask people about their backgrounds. Can you start off by telling us a little bit about your background?
I'm from southern Washington, near Portland, Oregon. So that's basically where most of my family is. My sister lives here, but yeah.
Where are your parents from?
India. Everybody's from Gujarat. Everybody in my family is Gujarati.
Where is that?
It's like northwest, basically.
What brought them to America?
I think mostly it's because the oldest sister came over on my mom's side, and so everybody kind of followed her, basically.
So there wasn't like a big, like a career rush or something. It was just everyone else moved, so I'll move too. It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah, it wasn't a career. They didn't have jobs to come here too, basically. Some of them went to school here. Like they ended up going to college, some of them, but they didn't come here for school or for jobs or anything.
What'd they end up doing in Washington?
In my family, everybody owns motels or hotels.
Ooh.
Or they, like, you know, my dad and my uncles, they owned like convenience stores or dry cleaners were kind of big. But basically everybody settled into motels and hotels. Like most Gujarati people end up owning motels, basically.
This sounds like a pilot that you could send to a diversity program. And
Yeah, I did already. They didn't like it. Like, we don't like this.
They're like, no
Yeah.
thanks. We're an Airbnb
They're
type.
like, we already have like 4 other people that submitted this.
So how was it growing up in Washington?
It's not bad. I mean, you know, I didn't think about it until I moved here because I lived in Seattle for a little bit, and then, you know, I moved back home to Portland. So those were the only 2 places I lived other than LA. My hometown's pretty white, but it's like a mix between a little rural, but like a little suburb. There's a mix of suburbs, and then, you know, overall it's fine. You know, like I only notice it now when I go back where like, oh man, there's just not very diverse here.
Right.
But that's also like you compare it to LA, and then, you know, nothing's gonna compare to that other than, you know, other major cities, really.
Yeah, I was just in Portland a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and that's what like where I grew up, basically.
Still
That's like
the
a
most
fancier
Black Lives
version.
Matter signs per capita, though.
Yeah, I know a lot of that, and a lot of those signs that are like, in this house it'll be like
Right.
all the
Yeah.
Love is love.
Muslims. They just have all the religions.
Right.
We believe all religions.
They've never met a Muslim person in their entire life.
Yeah. If we ever meet one, we'll be nice.
And at the very end, it's like, and apps is short for appetizers in this house. We're a no phone household. I don't know.
No phone household. Do people do that? Was that a thing? I bet some parents do that.
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a thing, you know, like
It is.
limiting screen time now.
iPads, yeah.
No plastic toys, only wooden blocks and stuff.
I don't know about that.
Without, I don't know. I think I went through a phase where I followed a lot of like white women lifestyle blogs, and they're like, my children don't have toys that are made out of anything other than wood and
They're
organic. Like,
Children don't have toys made out of anything, but their children are publicly online every day.
Yeah.
So
don't be silly. It's the backs of their heads.
Yeah.
And their privacy is well respected. And why not make a living off of your child if you can, you know?
Most parents, if they don't have a lot of money especially, they'll do anything to keep their kids busy. So they don't care if their kid's on an iPad all day, actually. But these parents have time, or they have money to like have somebody else raise their kids. That's why they give them like shitty toys.
Yeah, there was this clip I saw that went super viral of this woman making her baby food from scratch and then homeschooling her children and then going outside and gardening. Like, it was this whole thing that people were like, is this a satire of like what means? And it was not a satire. And it was like very much woven in with that whole like homesteading thing. Have you heard of this trend where like
No.
people are going back to the land and they're like, I'm going to get a cow and milk my own cow.
Oh,
and
damn.
I'm going to learn how to make sourdough and make candles just like.
Did they move? Did they move into the country, or do they live in the suburbs?
Yeah, it's
still?
like a movement, but then also they're weirdly documenting it meticulously on TikTok.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a.
But they still own their house, like in the city.
Oh yeah,
and so they're still renting
that. We have a pied-à-terre. Don't be silly.
Yeah, that property value is still going up on that. we're actually making a lot more in rent now that we live in the country.
90% of it is just like the aesthetic of wearing a flouncy prairie dress and then being like, look, cream with fat.
I made my cream. I made this cream with fat.
Whole milk.
Yeah.
On that note, were your parents very present when you were growing up, or were they always working? Because I know mine were always working, and I've been told that means I was like a latchkey kid. Have you heard this term?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know about this until recently.
Latchkey kids, that's like, 70s, 80s. Like everyone before the 90s was a latchkey kid. Well, not everyone, but it was very much, the laissez-faire parenting.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to like label it as anything because I feel like that's just how most of us grew up. My parents worked a lot, but what I would do is my mom would go to work in the morning, and then after school, my aunt would pick me up either from school or somebody would give me a ride, and then we'd go back to the motel. My aunt had a motel, so she would be taking care of me, but she'd be working around the motel usually.
Wow. What kind of characters would you see around the motel, or was it just a normal motel?
There's a weird combination of people that are going in and out,
Right.
And then some people, they can't get a apartment, like they don't have good credit, so they're staying there long term. Or then if there's like housekeepers, they're sometimes living in the motel. You get to know them obviously because they're working every day.
Did you have friends come over to the motel to hang out?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I had a house. Like me and my mom had a like we lived we were the only ones in my family that had like all my cousins, that everybody else lived in the motel. So I had a house that was like 2 blocks away. So people came over to my house to hang out too. But yeah, if we couldn't go home, then we would hang out at the motel sometimes.
And at your school, was it primarily white or was it diverse?
Yeah, it's pretty white for the most part. I mean, nobody at my school was super like racist or anything. I mean, you find you're like, there's a Asian kid, or that kid's black, and then you just become friends with those kids. So
that's my strategy.
You just find it, and then you figure out your thing, and then you hang out with the white kids, and it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Could you like be homecoming king though, or is that completely out of the question?
Homecoming king? If I wanted to.
Can you put your mind to it?
If you're good looking enough, it doesn't matter what race you are. I think you could.
It's not true, because I was prom queen, and I was not the most attractive person in my high school.
I don't know. Maybe you were. Maybe you don't know.
This whole podcast is just me trying to work in that I was prom queen at my high school,
and
it's a really huge elaborate. Yeah,
it is a credit. That's how she's brought up on stage.
Yeah. I think if it happened prom queen prom queen of how does that work though? You get like prom queen and then the king is your date.
It was an all-girls school and they didn't have kings. They just had like the queen and then the court, and then they had a weird thing where all of the people in prom court also had to invite their dads to prom for one dance, and then
they crown like one of the dads as the king.
And then they all wear purity rings. Yeah. I just kind of realized how weird that is, but they invited the dads for like one dance, and then the dads would leave, but my dad couldn't go, so I asked my physics teacher to prom. Shout out Mr. Vivo. Thank you for being my dad for one night.
You asked him to prom like because everyone else would bring their dad.
Yeah.
So physics teacher.
I like the idea that like a different dad won king than like the queen. And then he just has to dance with some random girl.
Somebody else's daughter. And it's like so awkward.
You should have a child.
Yeah.
Make her go to my high school, and then you'll have a second chance of being prom king.
There's time for you.
Yeah. Well, they call it like best father. They call it like the
it's
best
actually
father.
Called Best in Show.
Best in Show.
Part 2.
Best daddy. The very unfortunate news are like prom king grew up to be a television writer and B, married to a ballerina. It's truly devastating.
Wow.
That's supposed to be my life path.
I don't envy anyone who's dating a ballerina though.
She's really cute.
Oh, I know that. Like, I'm sure she is, but like, I don't know. Being a ballerina seems like a stressful job, and then you get like caught up into their world of dance. You know, you're like competing with whoever the director of the ballet is. You know, because they have like this weird authority over your wife now.
I mean,
You know, this feels weird.
to ruin this whole saga, at age like 30, I think she probably had to retire. She's no longer like a working ballerina.
No longer working.
Working
Retired
ballerina.
ballerina.
I mean,
Retired ballerina is a funny phrase.
Yeah, it's a good band name.
Did you go to school after college? I mean, after high school?
Yeah, I went to college in Seattle. I went to the University of Washington.
Nice. Go Wildcats.
Yeah.
Is it Wildcats?
No. It's the same. Whatever. I mean, you know.
What's the mascot?
Huskies.
Huskies. Okay, yeah.
checks out.
Yeah.
I once judged a law school mock trial competition there.
At the University of Washington?
Yeah, it was like the big leagues.
What'd you think of the campus?
It was a beautiful campus.
It's nice, right?
It was really nice.
Did you go during the spring or did you
I went
go
in the dead of winter. It was like
man.
January.
cold, dreary, right?
Yeah.
Like kind of beautiful even when it's really cold and shitty,
Yeah.
but still.
I had a great time though. One of my really good friends lives up there. We went to the SAM, the Seattle Art Museum.
Oh yeah. They got the
And-
big guy with the hammer out front.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think.
That big guy. They had a big Kehinde Wiley exhibit.
I don't know who that is.
Kehinde Wiley is the guy who did the Obama portrait. And
Oh, okay, I might have
Yeah.
seen his work at the Portland Art Museum. It might have come
The
through
Pam.
there. The Pam, yeah.
Pam and Sam,
The Pam and Sam.
BFFs. They're
Yeah.
actually the prom king and queen of the Pacific Northwest.
Do you Pam and Sam, the art king and queen. This podcast is obsessed with royalty. I've
We
noticed.
are monarchists here at Cleopatra. So what did you study in Washington?
I studied business and creative writing. Those are my 2 degrees.
Wow.
Those oddly lend to stand-up comedy because you are kind of like the CEO of yourself when you're a stand-up comic.
Yeah,
And then
I'm
creative
my own
writing.
business.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, it just seemed I'm really bad at math and science, and my mom figured that out pretty. Like in high school, we figured that out together the hard way. Because I was trying to take all the advanced classes, as many as I could, but I just couldn't science. I just couldn't wrap
me
my hand around
neither.
it, and I couldn't take the super high level math either.
And people really want us as brown people to be excelling in those fields.
I know. I wanted to as well because I was like, this is like. Also, you feel stupid just as a kid. You're like, oh man, everybody else is doing good at this stuff. Because if you're good at English or whatever, it's like, okay, nobody, even at that age, it doesn't mean anything. You're
Right.
like, oh, you're good at reading this book that nobody cares about.
Good job. I'm also fluent in English.
This
Yeah.
book. This book's, yeah.
Everyone's mad.
So yeah, that's why I kind of went to that because it seemed like it could lead to a good job, business could, but then you don't have to be smart enough to actually take very high math or science classes.
You said you were also a creative writing major. I did that as well.
Yeah.
Were there any memorable short stories that come to mind?
That I wrote or other people?
Other people.
Man, I don't remember. I just remember this one guy who pissed me off in my poetry class. And he was like this tall white guy who like rode a bike around campus. He would come in with the most annoying shit possible. He was also a bad writer. Like
I bet he was a photographer too and took pictures of the Brooklyn Bridge. I know this guy so well.
Yeah, he would come in with the most annoying stuff. Like he would come in, he'd be eating a carrot. Not like baby carrots, Like he would have a carrot and he's like, "What? It's just a carrot."
Like,
It's the
so he
same-
was like fucking Bugs Bunny, like walking around just like, what's up, dog?
Exactly, yeah. Like, this guy thought he was. And then
He
one
was so raw.
and then he would, yeah, exactly. He's like, that was the impression that he's like, whatever, it's like carrot. I mean, it's like comes from the earth.
I found this.
It's like he's too cool to eat the baby.
I didn't even buy this.
Yeah, I found it. Yeah, I just found it in the ground. I mean, I just like saw a leaf and I pulled it up.
Fair
And I was
game.
like, damn, food?
Fair game.
Fair game. And then the other annoying thing, he would bring in a mug. He brought in a mug of coffee. This guy biked around
Yeah.
campus. This guy brought in an open mug of coffee, not a thermos. He had no.
Okay.
There's no thermos to be found. He just had an open like mug in class. I'm like, so you walked here or rode your bike with an open mug? I was like perplexed by how he brought that into class.
Was his name like Braniel or something?
No, it was more normal. Like
Brand new.
in the Northwest, people have normal people, or at
Okay.
least I mean, I went to a state school. Like people didn't have annoying names, but they were
Just
but they
annoying
became
habits, yeah.
but they became annoying in college, if that makes sense.
I'm really sad to report. I'm pretty sure I dated this guy for like 3 years, unfortunately.
Maybe he was a nice guy, but those two things
Definitely
really bothered
not.
me. One time I wrote a poem. This is another annoying. Like I had when you have like older people in your class, they're like, I'm taking creative, right, or whatever. It's like they're like
Careful.
they're like 40 and they're like in an undergrad class for some reason. And I wrote a poem that was it was like very explicit. It had like a lot of violence to it and stuff. And it was like, but what we were supposed to do is you peer review. So everybody reads somebody else's poem and then you give notes on it, right? And that's how you get better. This lady, I got paired up with her. She was like, she came in. She clearly was just like frazzled. She hadn't taken a shower that day. She was just like out of it. And she was like, yeah, I just couldn't read your poem. It was too intense for me. But like clearly she had just not had time over the weekend to like read it, and so she didn't give me notes on it. You know?
And poem is not long.
Yeah, it was like a page. It was like a page.
Too intense is
She was like,
feedback.
this is
That's
too intense. No, she's like, I read the first line and I couldn't read anymore. Like it's like, well, what if it got really beautiful? You know, you don't even know.
That's where it gets better campaign started.
Yeah.
It was just with your
My
poem.
Yeah, it gets better. Yeah, keep reading.
Keep going. Come on.
Yeah, but creative writing's fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. It's cool that I even got to take those classes. It was a privilege.
That is a privilege. I feel
Yeah.
like I always gravitated towards nonfiction unless, I mean, I read a lot of fiction as an English major, but when it came to like things that I wanted to write, because I was too worried about being like corny or cringy,
Take up space, Christy. Take it up.
you know?
One time there was a short story writing class, and I would sit next to this dude. He was a football player, and he was just like this big. He was like a linebacker at UW, but he was like super soft spoken, and he loved writing and stuff. I kind of got to be friends with him, and I was like, oh yeah, man, like what's up? Like he felt really self-conscious in the class. He was the only football player like taking a creative writing class. But I was like, what's up, man? Like what do you like to read? And he's like, I just like to read like crappy like science fiction books, you know, just like stuff that people in this class wouldn't take seriously. And I felt so bad for him. Like he was a very good like writer and stuff too, you know, but he just liked really like pulpy like science fiction stuff.
I think that's the hardest part about comedy is just being like, this might be really bad, but you just have to do it. You just have to go through it and shovel through a lot of bullshitty, cringy, embarrassing, vulnerable things and then keep going. Is that like where your comedy started, or how did you eventually start doing comedy?
Yeah, I started in college. I would go to, there's like open mics in Seattle that I would go to.
Did you have comedy idols when you were younger? Like what inspired you to, or did you just happen to see an open mic and were like, I could do that?
Yeah, I did this thing in high school. It was basically like this talent show thing, and I did some stand up there.
Wow, you've been doing stand-up since you were in high school?
Yeah.
What was your high school material about?
There was like, have you guys seen the Tim Heidecker stand up where he like wears this?
Yeah.
You've seen that where it's like really bad.
Yeah.
I basically did that.
Oh
and
my
I
gosh.
also like Zach Galifianakis. I liked his one-liners, so I did a lot of one-liners. But it was like I was too nervous or didn't know how to write real stand-up, so I just did a character of being like really nervous and bad at it. So I basically did the very, very similar to the Tim Heidecker stand-up because I love those old videos of him just like bombing in front of crowds. So I did that. It was pretty funny. And then I didn't do it for a couple of years, and then I started when I was like 19, 20 or something like
Wow.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
Something we talk a lot about on this podcast is the immigrant parents' feelings towards us pursuing this field. How's that going?
This is good. I think, you know, they're like proud of me. I think like if I quit, they'd be happy too, like probably happier because I'll like do something better. There's not too many feelings or conversations about it anymore. I'm like 30 now, so it's not like it's not something we talk about that much anymore, you know.
I'm still afraid to get a tattoo because of how mad my parents would be.
I think I'd be afraid of that too, actually. Like that. But if I had been getting tattoos since I was 20, I wouldn't be afraid of it. I've been doing comedy since I was like 20, so it's like I've had more time to acclimate. Both of us have had time to acclimate to those decisions. Whereas like a tattoo, I'd be like, Mom, I got a tattoo. I'm like crying. I'm like, Mom, I got an ankle tattoo.
Stand-up comedy is also irreversible like a tattoo.
Do they watch your clips or anything?
Yeah, I think so. I think my mom follows me on Instagram. A lot of my family members follow me on Instagram, so they see most of it, I think.
I tried to hide my stand-up from my family for so long, and then one of my cousins followed me, and I was like, he's going to be cool. He's going to be cool. And then like a week later, there was like a family reunion in Cyprus, and then I got a follow from every single family member, and I was like, no! and that's how my family found out.
Yeah. I can't afford for them to not know, because like if I go back home and I want to put on a show, like if nobody shows up, I'm like, I have like 25 family members that'll like fill the room out.
Yeah,
so
you also
I need
have
them to come.
several motels to just shove some flyers under the door.
That's true. I didn't even thought about that. Yeah.
Ooh,
You didn't think
motel
about
show.
that?
Yeah.
Motel show.
Yeah. Let's get a bunch of meth heads in here to watch the show.
The Ha Hotel. It's already branded.
Yeah. Just filled with insane people, interlopers. That sounds like such a scary place. The Ha Motel.
It also doubles as a haunted house.
Yeah. The Ha Motel. It's like
man.
the Jokers.
We're gonna ask a couple of questions. I'll ask the first one.
Yeah.
So Cleopatra viewed herself as a living goddess. What has made you feel godlike, or alternatively, what is a useless, weird talent you have that you would like to share with us?
You know, did you guys ever feel like you were really smart when you were a kid? Like I was like, oh man, like you ever feel like that where you're like, I think I'm a genius?
As a child, I don't think so. I think it took me some years to feel like I only started feeling like smart in 7th grade, I think.
I think when I was like 6 or 7 or like 8 to 10, I thought I was like Rain Man. You know, I thought I could like see through everything. Like I'd be at like recess and I could like see everybody like playing basketball.
What?
Like, man.
Say more.
I don't know.
You just like were observational.
Well, I mean, I'm a kid. I didn't go in depth into this idea. I just thought I was like, I think I'm a genius.
Like psychic?
I thought I had incredible observational skills, you know?
I mean, you kind of do.
Well, I mean, as an adult, you develop that, but I don't know if as a kid I was like, I was like really seeing through the matrix or anything, but I thought I was. Because also like a lot of the content you view when you're a kid is like, it's like a movie or something where the kid is special, you know? And you're like, I think I'm special.
I love that.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a specific superpower, but I just thought I was incredible. I was like my brain was incredible. Like I was like transcending. I also used to think my mom was like a witch. Do you guys ever think that?
No, my mom's very much not a witch.
Like my mom was pretty nice, like, but I just thought like, but it wasn't like she was mean. I was like, I wonder if she's like a witch. Like I was like, she's like
conspiracy theory.
fattening me up.
Fattening you up. Oh my God.
She's like a witch because you read a lot of stories about witches too.
Right. She keeps feeding me and
like,
nourishing me.
So she can
She's up
eat
to
She can
something.
eat me. I thought my mom was gonna eat me.
It's like a Hansel and Gretel situation.
I had a lot. Yeah, I had a lot of weird like phobias like that. I also thought I was gonna get kidnapped a lot when I was a kid too. Like
That's
I would,
understandable.
I had,
we had
like,
a lot of stranger danger.
Yeah, I had like I would have like almost every night like nightmares about somebody like breaking into our house and like me getting kidnapped for some reason.
Did you?
Or my mom being a witch, like one of the two. My mom's in on it or something.
You did? Oh wow. Okay, so you thought your mom would facilitate a kidnapping?
Yeah.
Wow.
Or no, I thought she would kidnap me or something.
I spent my entire childhood looking for portals to secret worlds in our house.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a lot less traumatic than my mom.
Yeah, I always thought there was going to be like a hidden part of
Right?
my house that I didn't know about. And it was like a pretty old house, so like I would find compartments here or there, but it would like never lead to anything good. So disappointing when you're a kid.
Anything
You like
good.
crawl into a space and you're like, oh, this is gonna be a new world.
Right.
You're just in a crawl space and you just get stuck and there's like rats and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
there's like nothing here.
I was supposed to be a princess
I
at
know.
the other end of this.
You're just stuck like next to a raccoon.
Princess of rats.
Like dusty, like clothes.
Yeah, and your parents are like, "What are you doing in the attic?" I'm like, "Nothing. I thought there was stuff. We did have a cool at the motel. There was like a really sick attic where there was a lot of stuff that you could kind of go into all these nooks and crannies, but yeah, never found anything.
At my
Too
cousin's
good.
house, we did find a closet that went all the way around a room, and
Oh,
that was
that's
pretty
so
exciting.
cool.
Yeah, but it's same thing. It was like
And then
mothballs
you
and-
finally get to the end. You're like, oh, I guess it just went around the room.
Aw.
I thought there's gonna be gold.
Infinity.
Yeah, but the
There's gonna
journey,
be treasure. What do you say?
the journey was
The
worth
journey.
it.
And that's how you became
looking
a
around.
process-oriented creative,
Yeah.
only going in circles.
And then like when you're alone, you're like, I think I'm gonna like when you're like your parents leave the house, you're like, I think I'm gonna walk through that corridor. Ooh, Lynn's home alone. You think you're gonna like do something naughty.
I never thought I had superpowers, but I did think somebody explained what peripheral vision was to me, and I thought it was something like a superpower.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I have peripheral vision, so I can see out of the sides of your eyes.
I thought I had photographic memory. Because I read this story about, it's probably a very popular story, but I forget the name. You know, and she could like every time she took a photo of her, with
I
her
remember
memory,
she would go click.
She would go click, and
Yeah.
I was like, I can do that. And then I would just try it. I would just say click and think that I got it, and I'm like, I got it. I remembered that. Yeah.
Click.
I remember. I still do it now, where I'm like, I have a photographic memory, and then I'll be looking at you, and I'll look away, and I'm like, I remember. I know what Christy looks.
Just facial recognition going on up there.
Yeah,
That's-
but in my mind, it's like a power.
yeah, it's seared into your brain.
That I have this skill that
I wish I could do the opposite, where I go unclick and I can forget things I've seen.
remember, forget people. Yeah, like as you get older, you're like, man, I wish I could forget that.
Unclick.
Unclick. That'd be a superpower as an adult, is the ability to forget, to let go.
Everyone has their ways. I had to switch from alcohol to meditation. You know, that's how I'm. Was that too real?
No, I don't drink either. When do you stop drinking?
I mean, I drink a little bit now, but I just like when I was a lawyer, it was just so.
It's like you're required to be an alcoholic when you're a lawyer. I feel like that's part of the bar.
Everyone needs something. It was such like a treat where I'd be like, oh, I get to have a drink now. And
You do it after work probably too, right? Like you do it with your coworkers. And
oh
stuff.
yeah, exactly. It was
Yeah.
just like really part of the culture.
Part of the
And I
culture.
lived in DC for a while, and
Yeah.
that has like a huge happy hour culture.
A lot of people with like steady careers, they drink a lot. I've noticed, right?
And they spend more money. I feel like because when I worked in marketing, I felt like I had to spend so much money to justify the fact that I was so miserable at my job.
I did that too. Yeah, I would drink like anytime I had like a good full-time job, I was drinking more.
Yeah.
It really is amazing how much drinking is just made a part of life. I can't remember where I heard this, but it's like drinking is the one substance you have to actually explain why you don't do
Yeah,
it. So
that's
like
true.
I don't smoke, and I never had to be like, oh, I don't smoke cigarettes because
Yeah, true. I was also gonna say with the work thing, it's like they want it to be a part of it. They want to make your job more tolerable, which is why they have like they'll be like, yeah, we have a beer at the office. It's like,
Right.
Oh, awesome! I'm here till 8. I guess I'll get drunk. Like,
yeah, we'll just attract the workforce with snacks, beer, and a ping pong table,
Yeah.
and boom, it's 2010 all over again,
Yeah.
and we're gonna restore the workforce.
that's so funny. That's 2010. That's like a 2010.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's when all that started.
I read an article recently about how people were thinking that they were going to restore people back in the office with like Instagrammable workspaces. And it's like,
No.
babe, it's not 2010. We don't give a shit about the fucking boomerang in front of the confetti wall or whatever the fuck it is. Again, go to the Museum of Ice Cream. Okay?
I remember I had a beer once at work because they were like, we've got beers. And then I was like, now I'm just
You're
drunk
trashed.
at work.
Yeah, you can't.
Like,
you can't. Like,
sucks.
you're missing your deadlines, and your boss is mad at you.
Right. And there, especially when like the summer associates like at the law firm would come, there would always be these like work happy hours, and we'd have to like go be a part of it. And then there were all these events where you go to the main floor and there's like wine and beer.
I feel like it's such a bad idea too, because I feel like whenever at our workplaces we would start drinking, we would just like talk shit about the workplace and like the CEO. Like I don't know why they were like fueling that.
I try never to. It's only been a few instances where I've had those events, and I try never because I know I quit drinking. I don't drink anymore because I knew that if I would start drinking, I wouldn't be able to stop, and I was like, I'll get fired. Like if I start drinking at a work thing. So I never did. I don't drink when I do comedy either.
An intern at a work thing once, a few drinks in, told us that he wants to impregnate every woman he meets, and
is it? And then like the next right, and then the next day it's like it didn't happen. Or like everyone pretends like, oh well, that was the work thing. It's like, well that he
was,
said
that was you.
Yeah.
That was you.
And
That was still
it was
you.
deeply problematic to say to the entire company.
Yeah.
As an intern,
He wanted to impregnate everyone.
He said he wanted to impregnate every woman he met.
Every woman he met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I once went to a holiday office party and one of the senior men was like certainly inebriated and like being really creepy with all of the younger interns. And then he was like, let me take a picture with all you ladies. And then he was like, let me have my hands up. Don't want to get me too'd. And I was like, that's not funny. And we all just have like panic blinks in the photo. We're like, help, help, help.
Yeah,
boy.
that became like a thing. So I don't probably other questions to talk about, but that became a thing, right? Where like, you guys probably experienced it more, where bosses just started making jokes about that.
Right.
But
and
it's
you're
like,
this is still a liability.
What you're saying is inappropriate still. Like you addressing that what you're doing is inappropriate is still wrong. Like that's not the point of all this, is for you to be like, I don't want to get me too'd. It's like, well then don't do
then
stuff
exactly
that
then
would
don't
do
it.
that.
Right. And it's like this weird, the implication being
that somebody's going to accuse them for no reason, basically.
Right, exactly.
Like that they're a good guy, but like
Exactly.
they're going to get in trouble for nothing.
what they're telegraphing is, it is so absurd that I would do anything inappropriate. And so I can joke about this.
I can joke
and it's
about
like,
this.
well, you know what they say, there's always a kernel of truth in comedy. And I don't like the way this joke is turning, It's just so bizarre. And people don't realize that they're kind of telling on themselves a little bit when they make jokes like that. But not us. We're comedians. Everything we say is...
And male comics have been historically, just so great about.
Guys, let's move on. I don't want to get me too'd over here.
I like that you're...
Guys.
Show us your... Yeah, keep your hands where we can see them.
It would take so much for me to do something inappropriate.
Yeah, it really
sit in
would.
the chair.
You're all the way over there. It's so true.
You're out of frame. Wait, you're getting the third degree over here.
Okay, question number 2. Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. She was more Grecian, but she embraced a lot of Egyptian customs. What's a super American custom you've adopted, or an Indian custom that you can't shed?
I'm trying to think of stuff that I do like with my family that's super Indian. I don't know.
Eat with your hands ever? I still eat with my hands.
That. Yeah, food. All the food stuff is the same from when I was a kid. Oh, what I was gonna say about this is like, I don't know what I do specifically, but my theory about all that stuff is that whatever race you are, whatever culture you're from, you're going to become more of that as you get older. So if you're like Asian, you're going to be really Asian when you're older.
This feels like
if
a
you're
threat.
if you're white, you're going to be very white when you're older. When you're younger, everybody tries to be this weird amalgamation of like, it's like I'm beyond race, I'm
Beyond race now at Burger King.
I'm me. The Beyond
It's my
Race
favorite
burger.
combo meal. The Beyond Race
The
burger.
Beyond Race burger. Yeah.
I don't know.
So when you're younger, or like even closer to like your 30s, like what I'm at, you think you're this like, you're like, I'm an amoeba. Nobody can pin me down. But I think as you get older, you're just going to be, first of all, you become like your parents. So if you're becoming like your parents, like I'm going to become more Indian just from that. But then whatever your culture is like, your tastes and whatever you like is going to funnel into that. more so than anything else. That's my theory.
All right. Yeah. Why do you think that is? What do you feel like has been happening over the years that's made you feel that way?
Because you get more conservative as you get older. Like you're not as open to new.
No, I feel like I keep getting less and less conservative as I
think
get
it's
older.
because we're at open mics. That keeps us young and fresh. I'm not kidding. I love hearing what the kids say. I love having like Gen Z in my life because I feel like I'm so ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you need that. You need that for sure. You need like younger people's perspective to see what's going on, but the natural thing is for you to become more funneled into what you believe and what you think. So you're gonna be whatever your culture is.
So now we're going to move on to our final segment called Dig Deep. This is where we ask deep questions. I'll ask the first one. Cleopatra was portrayed by Elizabeth Taylor famously. If your life were a crossover episode of 2 TV shows or films, what would they be? Who would play you?
I feel like Mr. Bean.
Not the first time Mr. Bean has been brought up on this podcast.
Has somebody said that as an answer already?
Opie's
mom loves Mr. Bean. Favorite comedian.
Oh, yeah. That's her favorite comedian.
Yeah, it's not Opie.
Yeah, my family like Mr. Bean too. He's universal. I feel like Mr. Bean, the older that I get, because in those episodes, he's always in situations where he's like making a mistake accidentally, and that's how I feel all the time. Like you're trying your best, but then you end up stumbling into like doing the thing that makes people hate you the most accidentally. Yeah.
So okay, so you're just Mr. Bean, no crossover with anything.
I talk less. I mumble more. I'm wearing better suits.
Your eyes are bugging out slowly as you get older.
Yeah, I'm always like, you guys are gonna hear at open mics. You're gonna hear me just like,
Okay, the ancient Egyptians would bring their most treasured items into their sarcophagus with them.
Yeah.
What would you bring with you? And there's a second part to this question, but I'll ask it after.
I'm not. It's a tough question for me. I'm not very sentimental. I don't own anything that I really care about.
Wow.
People give me stuff, right? Like,
and you immediately say, "I don't care about this."
I don't. People send me cards, like Christmas cards and stuff, and I hate it. Like I hate having, because I like thinking that they're thinking of me, but when they send me like a Christmas card, I'm like, okay, I can't throw this away. That's wrong, right? So I have to like find a place to put it, or I have to like have a place to store it for like 3 months before I throw it away. But I'm not gonna put that up. I'm not putting it up in my house.
You wouldn't just like put it on your fridge just for the season?
I've tried it before and I hate looking at it. It's like disgusting for me to look at.
Why?
I don't know, because it doesn't fit with my decor. Like you're not thinking about my decor when you send me a Christmas card. You're just like, well, we made these, and it's like, yeah, but you guys are all wearing like green. Like my house is like, I'm going for a very like cream colored. You know what I mean?
You're the original Marie Kondo.
Yeah, I want my house to look a certain way, and you're ruining that. Now I have to have like a weird like collage wall with everybody's stupid Christmas card. I don't know. I just don't like that stuff that people give me that's supposed to be sentimental. If I have something that I get buried with, like bury me with like music or something, or like my AirPods, so I can listen, just so I can like listen to something while I'm dead.
Maybe listen to Baby Genius CDs so you can finally be that genius.
Yeah, give me like books, like books on tape or something. Like I want something to do, I guess.
Maybe like those airplane screens with Black Swan.
Yeah, give me like Black Swan. Give me. It's like preloaded movies just from like
Blu-ray
2010, a 2010 Delta flight, whatever was like on the programming there.
Like Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, it's like Knocked Up and like Catch Me If You Can is on there. Kramer versus Kramer, and I'm just like sitting there. I'm just like watching like one episode of it's like season 3, episode 1 of The Office or something.
That's the best afterlife I've ever imagined.
A plane. That made my answer way better.
The Delta flight entertainment options. Bury me with them.
Yeah, and you're playing like you're playing like solitaire. But you have to play it with like the remote that they give you, so it's like
there's also like a flight tracker, like how long
you've been dead. It's like how long you've done.
An eternity's worth of entertainment.
Yeah, and you get to see the temperature outside, and it's like 55.
Also,
pretty
do you
good.
ever see when they have those seat messaging options? Sometimes that's enough.
You can message.
So people can message me like stuff like still miss you. It's like, okay.
Okay, cool.
I don't care.
I'm living my best life down here.
Yeah, I'm busy.
Sorry, I have a bad signal. When I land, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll text you when I land.
I'm on airplane mode. Death is the original airplane mode.
Death is the original airplane mode.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. We have Ouija boards and other mystical things. We can get messages across.
Dude, yeah, I don't like Ouija boards. My mom and my aunts used to do it. What they would do is like, because their dad died when they were really young, so they were like obsessed with like that. And, they just liked the Ouija board concept. So anytime there's like a bunch of the late, like aunties, like they would go into one of the motel rooms, and then I would watch it sometimes, but it kind of was like
That's horrifying. They'd go into a motel room and bring a Ouija board.
Yeah, they had like candles and stuff, and it was like, it sounds creepy, but they would just be giggling, and I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. But they would always like try to contact their dad through the Ouija board.
Do you believe in that stuff at all?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think they did. Like, I don't think they figured it out.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Like, I think somebody could maybe, but
Real dangerous toy.
somebody was pushing it. But I don't want anybody to contact me with a Ouija board.
So speaking of the afterlife, what would you like your legacy to be, or what would you want your epitaph to read?
I think it's healthier for me if I don't have an epitaph, or if I don't have a legacy. If I don't think about that stuff now, I think that's healthier.
Why?
Does that make sense? Because then I'm not worried about it. And then also I can fuck up more too. I can make more mistakes.
So what you're saying, it's going to be a dry erase board headstone, and people can make edits as they go.
That's good. Thanks for fixing that. For sponsoring me. No, I had a good epitaph that I wanted. It says like, I'm missing, or like he's still alive, or something. Like, like where he's like, he's not dead actually.
It's going to say turn around.
Turn around.
Right behind you.
I'm right there.
That has been our episode. We really appreciate you being here. Is there anything you'd like to promote?
So yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Milan Patel _OK. And then you can listen to my podcast. It's called Perfect Politics. And then if you want to find that on Instagram, it's Perfect Politics Pod.
Yay. Thank you so much. This has been Cleopatra. If you enjoyed us, please leave us a review or just follow us and support. I've been Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly.
I'm Milan Patel.
Thank you so much. Good night.